All right, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are back for another trading stream. Today's an exciting one. We are actually going up in the market. We're doing pretty well so far, so hopefully I should have some new TA to give you guys on this stream. I don't know what I'm saying. Hopefully, I do have some new stuff to talk about. So today's going to be an exciting stream. Obviously, I do talk about it a lot. I have two types of streams. I have the boring ones where I don't really say a lot, and then I've got these important ones where some things have actually transpired and I can actually talk. So hopefully you guys are excited about today's stream. Hopefully you guys have been doing well. Hopefully you guys have been, making profit in the market. Hopefully you guys have had a good time. I don't want to yibba yabba. I don't have anything else to say. We're gonna start a timer, go through some percentages, get the charts. I don't want to waste any time. Okay, so 885-ish. Right now for Bitcoin, doing pretty well. 5.8% up 7 day, 3.8 on the 24-hour. So we're going up pretty nicely, going up pretty fast as well, which is a good sign. We're doing pretty well. I have a new thing to talk about as well on the Bitcoin chart. So obviously, if you've been here for the last few streams or whatever, I've come and said the same thing. I have something new to talk about alongside just a general update on the ranges and equilibriums and whatnot for obviously Bitcoin and the other charts. So we do have some new updates, like I said, we do have some new updates. So 2089 for Ethereum, doing pretty well. Obviously, again, I kind of expected Ethereum to, still be in this sort of 2000 area. Again, 2088 is still a good price for Ethereum. Again, 8.9% up 7 day. Doing well pretty much across the market. Obviously, an update on that as well in a bit. 143 Solana. Again, we've seen these prices before. 12.43. Again, we're coming from a position of like 120-ish, 125 on the lower equilibrium. Again, we're coming up. One of my targets for Solana was 150. We hit one of the targets for Ethereum and Bitcoin as well. We're getting towards one of the other targets. So we're doing pretty well so far on those. So yeah, 143 on Solana, 8%, 24-hour, and 12.4% on the 7 day. Doing well. Not the main losers. Obviously, this is a good sign in the market if you do 24-hour losers. When you start to see stable coins pretty much immediately, you're doing pretty well in the market. So doing well. Apart from Pi, not Pi. I added a bit of F then. Pi coin. Again, I didn't really like Pi. I didn't like Pi at all. I never really got involved in it from the get-go. I just didn't like it. And obviously the Trump token. Yeah, not really that much losing. But I say hello to everyone and bring the chat up in front of me. Say hello to everyone, see how everyone is doing. Chris Warehouse, as me, but it's Mike. So saying hello to Mike there. Jason, Chinu, KB, Mags, Kishan, shout out to you all, man. Appreciate you all being here at the start of the stream. Let me just move that to the side. There we go. Appreciate you all being here. I'm not wasting anyone's time. Let's get into the chart. Now, I know this looks messy, okay? This always happens with my charts. They look messy, and there's lines, and there's all the things. I will go through this step by step to, do this slowly, okay? So the first thing we'll do, I think we'll go left to right. Obviously, I've got this to talk about over here, which, we'll get onto. I'll start left to right, over here. We've already talked about the majority of this move over here and, these gaps and stuff. We've talked about the majority of this. Apart from over here, we have this kind of area going on. I think this is the only real area. I'm trying to think. Last I talked about, we had the Friday stream, which was, basically here where we kind of updated the rest of the chart. I had my ranges. I had different ranges. I don't know what my lowest one. I deleted them all. I had some 86Ks and whatnot. Friday was here. Coming to Saturday. So I think the range was about down here to 82. We had a higher one on the, if I bring the range up. Actually, I got this tool. It just makes it a bit neater. I can just click this and then immediately have it. Well, not immediately have it because it does have to reprint. But this range here was one of the equilibriums we had, which we've bounced off. You can see on this line at 83. Two, I think I had another one on the lower range, was a bit lower down, but the main range was one of these ones at 83. Obviously, we're coming up towards the middle of the equilibrium here at 88. Obviously, the high being 93. All these different areas. Again, this is kind of the outer kind of higher time frame stuff. Let me hide this quickly. I'm gonna generally get it out of the way. Obviously, this is the higher time frame kind of range with the ranges here. Obviously you can see all these bounces and stuff off the equilibrium here, and obviously here sitting at this low point of the equilibrium. Again, this is the higher range. It doesn't really apply to the lower ranges. I need to go back down to the one which actually applies a bit better, which is here. So yep, we are doing pretty well in that regard. We had a nice bounce on this range here. Obviously this is the middle point of this range, and now we've been coming straight up towards the equilibrium on our lower time frame. Well, not lower time frame, 4 hours isn't really that lower time frame, but I don't really look at anything lower than the 4 hour on these streams. So relative to the stream, the lower time frame, we are coming to, we're right at equilibrium right now, trying to get above. Now this line, this is, our move has been, this is our move so far. Yellow, get that out of here. I like to redraw. This has been our main move. Since Friday about here was when we did the TA. Since then we've been going up, so we're doing pretty nicely. Apart from, well, it was kind of in the morning, so it was kind of. We basically bounced off equilibrium pretty much right after the stream. So from the stream and on, we kind of consistently went upwards, which was good. Coming to the equilibrium at this level at about 88k. I've talked about 88k, I've talked about 86k, I've talked about 90k, 90,340 was one of the price points I had ages ago. This wasn't just for this movement down here since basically nearing the start of March. This was a price point I had. I don't even know where. I don't think it was. It might have been as far back here. I don't know. I had 90,340. I think we were talking about the pump, so it must have been like November, December time. I talked about 90,340, but we didn't really see too much kind of respect of it, because I remember one of my main points I made before we came into 2025 was I think 90,340 was going to be an important price point, but we went right past that. But now we're coming back to start to kind of use it a bit, and we had used it a bit previously in some areas, especially back here. We were sitting at 90,340 for a bit, but as I see it, obviously 90,340 is one of the ranges. But again, I've got so many different price points, but the main ones for me have been the 88k, 93k as well has been a big one, but yeah, 90,340 is definitely a very important price point for me to come back to. Obviously, I will talk about this white path tool in a minute. Actually, where's the screenshot gone? I've moved all the way back over here. There we go. So I can talk about this in a second for these ranges and show you guys what I'm thinking for the foreseeable future, if you will. But again, we're definitely going to take our time doing this. I hope we take our time doing this movement. I don't want to immediately go up to 97k and then have this immediate chance of coming right back down. I think we're doing well. We have a very nice structure to how we're moving. Nice higher highs and higher lows. We're doing really well in the market, I think, especially as of late within basically the open of today. Obviously, Monday being start of the trading week, having some really nice movements upwards and not really showing too much negativity over the entire day. So doing really well. What I will do. I should probably just get straight into this. I might go on one of the lower ranges just to see if there's any. I think this range had an might have something interesting on it. I can't remember exactly. You know what? I should probably just. I'm just gonna look at what I've got drawn out. So, I think it is this range. Yeah, it is. So this is more of the movements. Now again, this is kind of the ranges work with just using them as support resistance and just important areas, and that's what I kind of use them for mainly. But you can use them. There's another kind of I don't know what you call it, another feel to the ranges, which is there's a predetermined movement you have within the ranges. There's two in particular. There's the straight up kind of the up and downwards movements, which are these ones where you move from a low of the range to a highish of a range. This is this movement, and there's another one where you kind of it's kind of like a sweep where you come from a high to a low back to the high. But in this case, we're having this one. Now I wanted to try it out. I don't really use this too much on the streams because they, especially for looking on the 4 hour and daily and stuff, they don't really happen too often, and I don't really look at them. I don't really bother. I kind of just use these ranges as just general respect points of highs and lows and equilibriums, and then I use that to kind of talk about. And I obviously use these fair value gaps, especially this one was really nice down here. But obviously this indicator it draws them for me, basically respecting the ranges, so it just makes my life a bit easier. I'm gonna leave that as it is. I don't know why. I can't remember why I was there. But obviously these inter price, which basically is two. Basically, what these are. These are two fair value gaps, or there's like 7 different names for fair value gap, but I'll just call them fair value gap because that's what this is your fair value area. So whatever, doesn't matter. Basically, in between two gaps are the 2 wicks. In between those are these inter gap. Interest points, if you will. I don't know what you want to exactly call them, but I can't remember exactly what it stands for off the top of my head, but basically it's these inter fair value gap ranges, which work pretty nicely as well. So obviously they're just kind of a bit more, they just give more areas for potential support resistance or whatever, or reversal points for the market. So I do use these quite often, and we are building them up as we're going up, which is quite nice, because these can provide good support points as you go up. So it can be areas where you come back down to them and continue to go back upwards. And this obviously area would make sense, as this is the outer rim of the equilibrium. This is the wider range of the equilibrium here, which I'm obviously going to talk about in a second as well, which is this is a really kind of important area we are right now. This is kind of we need to do a good process. I talk about this a lot when we have moments in equilibriums for, you know, any charts in particular. Not really, you know, not anything in particular. This is just a normal thing to do, which is these equilibriums are very important, and they have their own process to them. Obviously, you've got the highs and the lows, and these whole areas in between, which we do our own thing in. But then when it comes to equilibriums, you know, there's a kind of process you have to follow where you have to be quite structured in equilibriums to actually surpass them. And, you know, equilibriums are the more common areas where you have that failure point where you're trying to get up into, you know, in the market, you're trying to get up, you're trying to get to a certain price. Equilibriums are the normal areas where it kind of stops you, and you know, are areas where it is the most common area where things can slow down and reverse and not actually reach the expected price point or whatever. So again, we are at a very important price for Bitcoin as I see it on this range. But again, I am going to talk about this kind of movement, which I'm seeing us start to follow as I'm following. So I'll talk about it now. Basically, these are different steps to this kind of, you know, method or this kind of movement in the market. Now, again, this is quite a large range. Again, the common place you use these ranges and these kind of methods on the lower time frames and the lower ranges because they happen more often and you can follow them with a bit more structure. But again, like I said, on these streams, I normally did weekly, daily, 4 hour. Don't really venture lower than the 1 hour. So I don't really look at these too often, like I said. But anyway, I think I did talk, because again, this has happened since, you know, 11th of March, this kind of visit to the low and then continuation of this kind of method in this basically. So I think I did draw this. I don't know if I showed it on stream or if it was just like for me basically. I will look at the chat in a second, actually. I see some comments. But I don't know if I looked at this on stream. I think I remember a scenario where I did. I might have screenshotted it. I can't remember exactly, but I think I have shown this previously. But I'll talk about it again. Obviously, it's right for me right now. So these are the different stops of potential. Now, again, there's people who use these ranges. You know, I'm not some guy with some magical mathematic, you know, massive PhD or masters or whatever. You know, I'm not someone who's made these ranges. Obviously, you know, the majority of people, you find something to build your own strategy on. So there are other people who use these ranges, and again, this comes from a massive amount of testing of this, and this is one of the commonalities which happen in these ranges, which obviously I'm going to try and apply to the current Bitcoin price right now, which is this movement of kind of this step, rejection block breaker, fair value gap. All you can see right here are the steps. Now, the reason I'm using these ranges is because it does label these prices here, which I think is going to be easier to show what this is basically. So and again, this is more commonly used or more easily used on the lower ranges because it happens more often, and you enter new ranges more often. Like if I was to go to the 5 minute and draw the closest range on this one, you would be able to see how fast these get shown and how more potential there is. But again, like I said, being on the 4 hour and the daily, you don't really enter new ranges that often because there's not much, you know, volatile movement within the respectful range. Because again, you know, weekly price, everything's fractal, but at the same time, you know, the weekly is going to have a larger range than obviously the 5 minute. That's just kind of obvious. So, but anyway, I'm yapping. Let's just apply this. So, this process goes rejection block, breaker, fair value gap, and this sits within the specific range on the high or the low. So if you're sitting at rejection block on the low end, which we are, these three are going to be on the lower end before you hit equilibrium. This is kind of the equilibrium point, and then from then on, you're going to be in the new range within these opposite positions. So basically, the setup of this is being at rejection block area, which we came from this position of visiting the extension line and kind of coming below these lows we had, which I talked about, you know, when it happened. Kind of, I think it was a few days before, maybe on Friday. I mentioned this being an important area for me, and obviously now that we've visited it, we are now in potential for a new kind of, you know, method or algorithm, what you want to call it. But also, you know, every time you visit these new highs and lows and you don't break them, it gives a new potential for this to happen. And again, considering the kind of general sentiment in the market, I think a lot of people think we're going to go up, and I do agree with these people. I think the majority of people have, you know, realized, okay, this, or for me anyway, this visit below these lows and visits to the extension line being at this low, this kind of signals to me, okay, we've wicked to this extension line. I think this is now going to let us run to the next high, or the high of this range, which is obviously towards 98k. So again, to apply this actual method here, which is the rejection block. So you can see from this visit of these sweeps, we have this rejection block visit, and again, we have these wicks here, which we have used to kind of form these rejection blocks. The next step from that is breaker block, which is this range here. So we can come up to it, and then the first kind of, visits inside of this range is here, and obviously from then we kind of have this movement downwards towards this fair value gap range, which is the next step here, and then from there you then start to move upwards towards the high points, obviously to this order block area here towards basically 96k. So the next step is basically coming back towards this area here, and again there is an equilibrium below here on one of the lower ranges. I think the 6561. If we were to draw this quickly, I can show it. Just easier for me to just redraw it here, so you can see, yeah. So this kind of coming to this area with this, and again it's quite hard to look at because there's so many lines here, but this red line basically was this equilibrium point we had quite a while ago when we were up here and talking about this in February. Now the next step, obviously we did come to it here as well. The next step from here, coming to basically the order block here, aka we're pretty much coming to this order block or this equilibrium position here. You can see this is equilibrium. This is kind of the wick to order block. So basically coming towards 95, 96k in this area. So let me bring this back up. Yeah, so coming to that area next for here, again, it could be a bit higher. Now, again, it could be towards 97, 750. It is basically, you don't have to exactly, there's not a pinpoint price. Now, this, it's obviously, it's kind of, it's situational. Obviously, there could be, in order blocks, there can be an order block area here. If I were to go back, we probably see some consistent area here. But it can also just be to the ranges within 97 to 96 wick into it. And obviously, I've just drawn it there for, just safety. I'd rather, suggest a short from there than a short from 97.8, where we might not potentially hit. But from there, next, we have mitigation block, which is this next area down here, which also coincides with this this block we have on the breaker block. So I'm more confident that it's going to be somewhere towards 90,340, which is also the equilibrium ranges as well. So basically hitting the outer rim of the equilibrium, hitting the bottom of this breaker block support area basically. And again, if we go back to where this is drawn, this is a positive breaker block, which is a support point. So from there, I think we can retrace to the support point at breaker block here, and then obviously from there to end it, it's basically towards this this range here in the liquidity void. So it could be towards 92.7, but for me, the outer rim of it, looking at this follow-up of this negative breaker block here, which you can see on the different range. This is on, I think, a higher range. This is a negative breaker block, which is going to be resistance. You can see we wick to it here. I think we can do that again over here. Again, this isn't set in stone. This is theoretical. None of it's financial advice. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying this is something you should trade, but it's just it's just something to think about, if you will. So that's kind of what I have. Not as I think in general, regardless of having these steps which we follow, if we, in theory we follow, I would have still suggested a higher move above where we are now. I don't think, regardless of what method you're using, I think majority of people are thinking this area down here was the low. I think I think the majority of people are saying we're going to be coming up from here. So regardless of what you're thinking, I do think, regardless of what method you're using, I do think the general consensus is we're going to be coming up to our previous areas we had, before this kind of dump and, low visits, if you will, which obviously surpassed all these lows, coming past all this and then coming back upwards. So, obviously I'd like to see your guys' opinions on where you think we're going to go on Bitcoin and, the crypto market as a whole, because again, the general movement we are having right now, it's kind of across the board for the market. So, but anyway, in my opinion, I do think it's going to go up. So again, that's the main thing I wanted to talk about in this chart for Bitcoin, because it does map out the general movement we're having for Bitcoin over a longer period of time. I can go onto different ranges and look at equilibriums and whatnot, but this is more of a longer term, potential move we could have for Bitcoin. But what I will do, I will go to some higher ranges and just look over the general higher time frames, just to see what we've got going on. So we do have a wider equilibrium, which obviously we are coming into. We can see outer rim. This is on this range anyway, on the kind of higher time frames ish. We have this. So this is obviously the higher. This is kind of the general equilibrium we have. We've seen before we had these bounces here, we use the resistance here. So we know we're kind of in with it, within this area here. Obviously, we had wicks below it, basically for these lows here, which we can see on lower time frames or lower dealing ranges. But the general kind of price movements on this higher range and the higher time frame is going to be within this box. I will look at the comments in a second. I'm just going to talk about this last thing, and then I will look at the comments. But you can see the whole move of this kind of potential thing. It basically just sits within the process of coming into equilibriums. Now again, you know, you know, everything is kind of fractal, everything kind of follows each other based on you know, what range you're using. Again, what makes up the daily candle? Well, it's however 24 1-hour candles, or however many, you know, whatever range you're on. It's a makeup of lower time frame candles. And again, if you have a consistent trend change on the lower time frames, that cascades upwards to the higher time frame. So everything is kind of this is just a representation of the same data, just in different formats. So again, it makes sense that we have kind of because I would talk about this, you know, I talk about with equilibriums, I talk about the process of coming into an equilibrium and having that higher low, higher high kind of break up above the equilibrium, which then allows you to proceed onwards towards the highs, towards the 118k. So to see the kind of lineup between this lower range algorithm, or whatever you want to call it, it's called an algorithm, yeah, the trading algorithm, whatever, but I don't really like that kind of phrase to it, but whatever. But you can see, you know, this also, you know, again, some of the highs and the lows kind of wick outside of these ranges, but the general movement is very similar to what I would talk about with equilibriums anyway, which is, you know, coming into the equilibrium, having, you know, kind of coming up, finding resistance. Again, this general movement, we've already seen it. Maybe not in this case, you can see this is a very straight line upwards, but as we see with the general price, we can see, you know, we're coming up into it, finding resistance, trying to break up, you know, failed, resistance here, support. This is a good sign, you know, resistance, support. Now we're coming to here, we'll probably come a bit down towards 86.7. Again, we've got this kind of gap here, which we could hit as well as support, maybe even wick towards 86.1. And then this will be our low, higher low also in this case. And then we'll start to come up into 90,340, which is also, we will probably use as resistance before we use it as support. We've used it as resistance before as well. So coming up into this area, finding support at you know, 90,340, 88k. And it's just a general process of, you know, equilibriums. Because again, you know, there's been scenarios in whatever coin you look at. Again, I know for Bitcoin, I've looked at it previously, where we have scenarios where we don't necessarily follow the right process to get up into equilibrium, and then there are scenarios where you kind of wick up and then wick right back down. Not saying that happens all the time, it doesn't really happen all the time, but, you know, I'd rather, with anything, regardless if it's in equilibrium or resistance points, whatever, I'd rather they have that nice process of coming up into it, having the clear-cut support, you know, kind of, I'll draw it out, you know, kind of having that clear cut, okay, we've surpassed it and we use it as support, now we know we're doing the proper movement. I'd rather have that than, you know, us do our thing, come up, do our thing, and then come right back down again. You know, it's a good process. It builds solid ground below us as we come up. Obviously, I know Mike talks about ladders, and, you know, if you skip a few rings and then you fall, you know, you're gonna, you know, slip past those rings and come right back down to where you were, type of thing, or maybe come to one above, but you're still, you know, lower than two. You know, it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back type of thing. I'd rather have that slow walk up than just, oh, let's go rush right towards 98k and then we dump right back down to 90k. You know, it's needed. We need this. So but yeah, anyway, going back to my point of, you know, this is very similar to the process where eventually we're going to hit this area between 93k, probably wick up maybe towards 96k, and then come back down to this equilibrium point. Because again, this is the shared equilibrium point on this higher range, which then clear cut shows us, okay, we've bounced off this equilibrium, and now we are in the next range, or intermediate range, in between 90,340 and 118k. And then obviously within our ranges, we'll have our steps up and find different support and resistance points and whatever, you know, however long it takes us to get back above. But yeah, the general kind of movement is basically mapped out by this white line here, which is kind of the whole process of getting up into equilibrium. So yeah, anyway, I'm pretty confident in this is the rough movement I could expect. Regardless if I drew this or not, I would still talk about us coming towards 88.6 and then coming back down towards 86.8 and then wicking up and then trying to get towards 90k. But again, 90k could also be one of those kind of what's it called, the psychological levels. Yeah, that's one, psychological levels. I have a reason for 90,340, but again, people do talk quite often about psychological levels, and going from 89 to 90k is quite a big thing. So again, that is also a good lineup between 90,340 as well. So again, we still have, I've talked about this on my previous streams, you know, 17th of March, you know, Friday as well. I don't know if I mentioned it Friday, but you know, we do have quite a few steps above us to get above. You know, we had the 86, 88, 90,000, and then the next step up at 93k, 94, or in this case 93.8. we do have quite a few steps to get above before we are clear cuts, to go right up towards 110k before we see that bounce. So anyway, I'm pretty confident. This was, I think we've seen the low. I think we're coming up now. I think we're going to see our previous positions we saw at February. I think we're on our way up now. So obviously I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say anything. Oh, I think we're going right to 110k and then we don't do anything. I realistically do think we're on our way up now. So I wonder what you guys think. I do think we are on. I'm going to bring the chat up actually because I haven't spoken on the comments actually. So let me have a look. So when Lambo, very true. Soon, Lambo soon. My target 88k reached and closed. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. 86, 88, 7. This is definitely one of the lines I have for equilibrium here. Obviously we've, again, if we go to some lower time frames, we could probably see it a bit clearer with the visuals. There we go. We can see this nice, arc bounce, high low, and then boom, we have that resistance. Now we're kind of hovering a bit. We also wicked into this, so I wouldn't expect too much negativity, but again, the probable normal scenario would be us kind of coming up into this, having these lines wicking below and then coming back up again and then doing our thing. So yeah, I'm just very happy about how we've moved into this, especially this process. We've had really good movement, high. We haven't had like dodgy movement or weird price action, which has had us wick above and wick down, and liquidity grab coming above something, then coming right back down and going back up again, and having these stops for people. I think it looks like there's a unanimous agreement of, okay, we shouldn't really be here right now. We should be a lot higher. We should be coming up right now. So there's just this normal movement. Obviously, we have these, rebounces, if you will, coming back down into these areas and then coming back up again. So, normal movements, I would say. Yeah, I mean, if I went to the lower time frames, I went to the, just draw the next closest one range for me, would be nice, actually, to have a little look. Actually, I don't want to do next because it's not that accurate. There we go. Yeah, so you can see, as we go up, we're doing our thing. As we come up, high resistance, coming up, and then back down to order block. I don't know what the range was. There's obviously two algorithms. One basically comes from the high low order block, and then it goes right up into a straight line right towards, I think, breaker block. So in this case, it would be basically towards 90,000. But again, this is going to take, some time to happen. We've got different support points. So, again, everything takes time. But anyway, let me go back to the chat. So, John, hello to you. You're really nice pump right now. Yeah, we're doing well. We're doing really well. Hope it will touch 89 to 90k. If 90k, happy. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, like I said, we have, if I go back to the actual range I was talking about just then, I think it was like this one on the 4 hour. Yeah, so again, like I said, we do have 90,340. I think even 89k, like I said, this would be us coming up into above the actual proper midpoint of 0.5 for the ranges. Again, it's going to take, I'm not saying we're going to immediately go to it. I wouldn't be surprised if we, actually, it's a minute. Wouldn't be surprised if we kind of came below even here for some of these lows and came below towards 86. Again, that might be a bit negative, whatever. Realistically, what I would want to see would be, 88k basically exactly support here, and then continue onwards, trying to get above. Yeah, 89k, I think that's very close for us to see, and then considering what sort of movement we've had, I don't think it would be too hard for us to do to get up to that point in the market, and like you said, see 89k. Again, 90k, I think we'll take a bit more time to see 90,000, 90,340 for me. But again, equally, I still think we're going to see that, no problem. 88,600 line. Do you have a line at 88,600? Yeah, I think I had some, didn't I? Which line was it? I think it was on the lower range, wasn't it? Well, I had 86.7. Obviously, I've got some areas down here for this support point. Yeah, so roughly 886. I can agree with that. Jason, how you doing? I'm doing very well. Thank you. I'm doing very well. Very happy about what's going on. Hopefully you guys are doing well as well. Hopefully you're doing well yourself, Jason. I see you've been really doing well in the Telegram. It's been nice to see your screenshots on the Telegram, so I do appreciate you sharing that with us. But yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully everyone's doing well as well. But yeah, I'm happy. Again, I think, what's my timer at? Yeah, 30 minutes. I know we spent quite a lot while Bitcoin as well. I think I've talked about the majority of what I wanted to talk about. My chat just moved to the right for some reason. But anyway, yeah, I'm pretty happy with what we're doing. Again, I've given my ranges. I've already talked about, 89k, 90,340, and then we've got this kind of this kind of movement we've got, coming up towards 96 and whatnot. Again, this will take some time to do. I'm not saying this is going to happen tomorrow. This might happen during the week, maybe towards next week as well. But again, Bitcoin's a sly little bugger, so it might happen tomorrow. It might happen, in 5 days. So it's one of those things where we could have really great positivity in the market. Boom, now we pump. But I think this is my kind of framework for how I see Bitcoin moving. Again, this is my opinion, not financial advice. People might have different opinions. People might do something else. Again, that is your thing, But yeah. Anyway, whatever you do, I'd appreciate you guys sharing, because I do like to see people's thoughts in the chat as well. I really do think I really do enjoy seeing people's opinions. Because again, because sometimes I might look at someone's screenshot and go, I like the way that looks. I like the way that makes sense to me, especially the KB interview. I really do, appreciate KB for coming on. I do want to do another stream with KB actually, where we do like a Bitcoin stream where we both give our opinions, and he gives his chart and thoughts, and I give my chart and thoughts, and we discuss it. 'Cause I think that's really important, because a lot of time, again, there's tons of traders or tons of people who analyze the charts on streams. It's a solo thing, and obviously I'm no different right now. I'm on the stream by myself. Again, I'm talking to you guys and and whatnot, but pretty much every streamer, the majority of them, they just have it themselves. It's just their chart and their opinion, and that's it. So it's a echo chamber within themselves. Again, they can look at chat, but a lot of the big ones especially, they don't really look at chat and discuss with people. It's more so of, oh, this is my opinion and that's it, which is fine. People want that, but at the same time, I do think it's very valuable, very valuable to people to have two different people, two different methods, two different ideas, and two different ways of processing the charts, and then letting people decide within themselves, okay, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, I like this, but I also like this, that type of thing. I think that's really valuable, so I would want to do that with KB. So obviously shout to KB. We might be arranging that for later on at some point, so yeah, I would want to do that. But anyway, I'm going to bring the chat up again. KB, what's your target? Yeah, I'm curious what KB thinks. I definitely am. But I think I have seen him post on Telegram. I do think 97. Yeah, I was going to say. I think remember you saying you think this is also the low as well. Or we've seen the low anyway. Yeah, I think this especially, or for me on my thing, like I've already talked about, this kind of low visit to this extension line wick. This is kind of clear cut low sweeps, basically, for me anyway, which then kind of shows a reversal to then continue into a kind of new method or new movement for the chart into a more positive light, especially in this case where it's going to a low, will show us, will kind of transpire into be something which is a lot more positive. So yeah, I think we've seen a low. I think we're going up, So anyway, yeah, I'm sharing my opinions, and also you are my book of ideas. I go back to check what I did right and wrong. I think he's tongue to the high nights again. Yeah, but again, like I said, Chase, I appreciate you saying your thing. I know I know you're using it's like vector candles. I know it's the Trade Reality, I believe it is. I like that guy. I think it's pretty cool. I think he hypes some things up a bit too much. But again, that's it's people need to do that on their streams. Give it their all. But yeah, I like him. I think he's got some good ideas. I used it for a period of time as well. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Like I said, I do appreciate it. Yeah. So the bull market support band. Yeah, I think there's a lot. What I like to see right now is I think across the board there's a lot of confluence with a lot of people. Not confluence, but I think there's a lot of convergence, if you will. Converging together, joining together, whatever you want to say. I think a lot of people have very similar prices. Whatever method they have, I think a lot of people have similar prices. Areas which are very similar. I think again, not everyone's going to have the exact same price unless you're doing the exact same method as each other. not everyone's gonna have the exact same pinpoint price, which is fine. You know, that's normal. Yeah, that's expected. Yeah, for example, for me, obviously I had obviously 90,340 on the higher range as well. I have if I go to back to, I think it's this one, I believe I drew it on. We've got some big ranges again, 93.9 as well. Again, there's a lot of different ranges. Was it? No, I think it was lower range I used, because like if we see it here on this low, yeah, here it is. Which goes towards, again, like I said, 93k. I've also got this at 92.4. There's a lot of ways up, but again, I think I think the process on the way up is going to be, I think that, again, like I said, 90,340 is a very important price for me. And because again, this is also, again, this is the range I showed for, or I was showing for the equilibrium movement, which is obviously within the range of 83k for this low end, and then this 93.8k, 93.887 for the high end. So again, very high areas here for these visits. We've got this high here as well. So again, there's different ranges for different people. But bro, your 2 weeks, your prediction is right with touch 8k. Yeah, thank you for pointing it. Obviously, I talked about it a bit. Yeah. I mean, I was expecting this. I was hoping for this anyway. But yes. Again, I think it's. I don't want to. I feel like giving like 10 different prices is a bit cheating. I don't want to, go, oh, we've got 86, 88. I want to point out everything I see on my screen. Whether it be whatever price, whether it's good or bad. But my kind of process is I want to point every single price out which we have potential for, and then filter it down to the one I really do think is the most important one. But yeah, I mean, obviously I had so many different ranges, but I had that 86.7, which we did bounce off here. I had this 88.5 area for this midpoint of the equilibrium, which we're bouncing off right now. We have 88k for the lower range support, so I do think we could see support there. But again, I would say that, and we have visited it, but I think over this range on the higher time frames, I do think it's more towards this 87-ish k area to find support. But again, we don't necessarily have to do that. But again, for me, my next stop's going to be 90,340 for this high, which also has this kind of this resistance-ish area as well, which is also it's a support point, but again, it's also this resistance point. So this is kind of the general area between 90,340 and 91.3. But yeah, again, like I said, the main thing I've got is this kind of process we've got with this range up towards 96.2. I definitely think that's going to be one of our highs. But anyway, Solana. Let's go to this. I think Solana's doing pretty well. Hasn't hit the main area just yet, but we're going up to it as we speak. But again, we have this outer rim range, 143. I talked about this on my stream where I drew this. I said you could do one at 143, and you could do the stop loss, a bit higher, a bit lower. But again, I want to do something a bit higher, which would be a bit more of a process, which is for me about 150. This is probably an equal to Bitcoin's. Maybe not 90,340. It could necessarily be, but maybe equivalent of the breaker block at 91.3. It's kind of a similar process where we've kind of got this resistance point, but I think the outer rim where we could see is about $150 for this support. But again, we also do have midpoint you could bounce off. But for me, about $150 is going to be very important, within this 80-cent range. But I've just moved the entire thing. Yeah, so again, we're still in that process of doing it. Obviously, we had these wicks. I thought we were going to hold on really nicely to this 128. We did wick a bit below it. But we're coming up pretty nicely. Let me go back to this one quickly. There we go. Yeah, I think we're coming up pretty nicely. Massive candles up. If I draw a lower range, we might be able to see something a bit more interesting on this. I don't know why this is drawn on this so well. I think I need to do maybe not raw calc. I should probably just bring my ranges up because again, it's not really too. There we go. That's a bit better, I think. Oh, I know why it's not looking too good because I actually have my range drawn. There we go. I don't need what I was drawing anyway on that range. I can just use my own, which is the 243. Yeah, the 243. Good. Okay, I can go to the 81 now. Brilliant. There we go. Yeah. So even though because I drew this, I don't know if it was this one. It might have been this one. Yeah. So. The reason I drew the low there was because of the lower range equilibriums, which was this kind of area. You can see we bounced off it here. If we were kind of surpassing this area, we would be surpassing certain areas, especially on the 9, which I don't have drawn because I don't have the range here. I think I drew it on this one, on the 9, because I really couldn't bother to draw everything. But my reasoning was, if we were to come below some of these areas, you should realistically not be in this. This isn't a really good idea. But again, we had these highs. But again, my main area is going to be up towards here, especially 146 is going to be a big price. obviously equilibrium here, and then coming up towards 150. So this is again the outer rim of this kind of high range. But again, we're above the highs. You know, we're above the highs. Equilibrium's or this extension line 138. I wouldn't be surprised if in Solana's case we have this bounce off this breaker block area and then come back towards maybe 138 ish area for support, filling obviously this massive candle, and then coming back upwards, continuing onwards, which would be normal. Again, this is going to be, you know, just a higher, I mean, as long as we're not going lower than 130, which I don't think we're going to do, then, you know, we're in a good scenario regardless. High being 145, so I reckon we could probably come towards 138 and then continue back upwards into equilibrium at 149, 150. Again, like I said, you could put this lower. Again, in this case, you know, if you want to do this trade, if you were in this trade, you could put a stop loss to break even, or maybe towards the high, whatever, you know, it's your life. You can do what you want. But for me anyway, I think the main consistent area is about 150, $150.5 here. So that's just my opinion on this. But we're doing well. You know, we're doing well for Solana. I think we are continuing onwards. Again, long-term prices, we've got many. You know, we've got many different prices. Let me actually should probably extend these prices here. Hold on. Just so we can see it a bit better. There we go. So yeah, we've got this high again. You know, from here the next stop is going to be this high, especially because now we're in this range. We haven't truly printed this purple line, so again, I wouldn't mind a visit at 138, maybe like a wick to it or whatever. Maybe come down to this area and then come up, because then obviously that confirms we are now in 134 to 162, which obviously was also another price point, I believe. I think on the 81 we have some different areas as well. Yeah, there we go. So 161 there as well. As we can see, I think we've used it previously back here, especially these bounces back here. We have used $160-ish, so I do think we have there as well. But from there, 152 is probably my next resistance point for this. I've already shown this. We've already come above equilibrium. We're just kind of coming up our steps towards these areas. Back up. I don't have 9. I probably could draw 9 here. I think that's what I did last stream. Cause I can't really be bothered to draw 9. There we go. But again, using the 9, I have to have got quite a low range. Yeah, so you can see this is kind of, again, a very good process on these lower ranges. Now again, I've already talked about kind of the process of using these ranges on the lower time frames. Again, 9 is pretty good. You can use the average daily range and weekly range to see what's a good range or what's not a good range. In this case, the best one to probably use would be probably closer towards 81. You know, on these ranges. But again, the daily range would be 45. It depends on what you want to do. You know, 45 would be closer to... Would it be closer to 27? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is also a very good process of what we've got going on right now. But anyway, I want to go back to the 9. I want to see very close to what we've got going on. There we go. I'd keep on moving this. Can I lock it? I need to lock this. Okay, yeah, anyway, going back to this. So yeah, we're now at this high on this low range. Again, this is a very low range. This really isn't that, like, you know, super strong for Solana. This isn't like, oh yeah, we need to follow this right now. But coming up to the high is going to be towards equilibrium. Again, 148, but probably 152.95. But again, this range isn't really applicable for me. I wouldn't really want to use this. I'd rather use the 27. Probably would be one of my lowest ones to be using. Which obviously gives these nice support points to this equilibrium. Again, like I said, high point 162, I definitely think is going to be a nice high area. We've used it previously for these support points, as you can see, before we wick below. Obviously, this massive wick, which we had pretty much across the board, was this equilibrium. What I will do, though, I will go on to the higher ranges and give some higher. I think, did Jason say something? Long term for Solana, I ought more on 120 average, 100 something. Some of my friends were talking about 56. Wait, what? Hold on, let me read this again. I thought more on the 120 average, 100 something. Some of my friends were talking. So 120 average. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think what my low was, I think it was this 120 area for this equilibrium. So yeah, pretty much exactly the same. Again, we had this wick below, which I think was a wider range thing. Obviously, we have this. The 243 is the massive range, which I will be using for obviously the daily. Again, this is the daily thing. You know, this is the where it's at. And for me, again, this comes up towards. Again, this is a massive area. 177 I've talked about. Again, I've also talked about 200. 200 is going to be a big area, especially. But I'll get back into this. I thought more on. Yeah. So yeah. Again, completely agree with 120. That was my main because I had two areas. It was like the 143 area, which we're sitting at right now, which is the 81 equilibrium, I think, but it's also the 243 resistance, but I think is I think it's just, was it just 243? Yeah, I think it's just 243. Yeah, 243. I had or 143, I should probably say. But yeah, I mean, I had the 27 was the main one I was looking at, because that was where we were consistently following the prices, which was for me 148, and then it comes back down to about 120, which I've just shown there. If I could bring it back up, was this 120 area. We can see this print at 119, but again, the main area was towards this 114 on the higher range. So I had 148 and then 120 as my main areas. Kind of, I thought we were going to sit in between there. But yeah, 100 and something. Again, yeah, technically we did have that wider range. We do have $100 down here at the equilibrium. But again, that's like worst case scenario. That's like really bad. If we wouldn't have held 114. But yeah, I mean, 56, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's crazy low. I mean, I think I have the 729. But even there, I didn't think the 729 was going to show me anything important. Maybe if I was on the 81, we could probably see $80. But again, like, 56, we'd have to get through so much to get to 56, which is crazy. I mean, that's a bit too much in my opinion. But yeah. 56D Solana. Before the end of the bull run, I said I bought Oh, right. So you bought at 56 and you were talking about where some of your highs could be. Okay, is that what it is? You bought 56 and you were trying to talk about where you could see it going towards. Oh, so you thought long term, before everything started, you were thinking 120. So like back down here, like as we were coming up. Right, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, we had, I mean, you can even see on this, like, really nice movement in between here. Again, the ranges, when you zoom out on certain ranges, look really, really nice. Especially, like, the main one we've had, unless, apart from this pump we had, you know, where we came up from pretty much every single coin, where we came up all the way to our highs, especially in this case to 300. You can see, you know, since, like, March, we've been sitting in the same range for the entire time. Apart from this pump coming into 2025, where we had this massive pump, and then we've obviously come right back down. This was the range. You know, this is the range we had. You know, in between $210 and $113. We've been sitting. Look, you can see, max. We came into it and we confirmed the range. We confirmed it 210, and then we came right back down to 113. And since then, we've been in derivatives of this. You know, sitting in here. And then obviously we had this massive pump. But you can see even some of these wicks were coming towards the 195 range, which were towards this equilibrium. But again, I think if we go to some different ranges, you'll see some different prices, obviously. But, you know, our main range, like I said, more so on the lower end was a bit more accurate, which was about this $115, $110 range. But we've realistically just come back to that. So again, I think definitely longer term, $200 for me is going to be another price point. I don't think that's going to be the end of the high for Solana. I think we're going to go, you know, higher for this. But again, as I see it, you know, very, very long term, it'll take a while to happen, especially me being on the daily here. $200 is one of my targets. Again, 160 is going to be my intermediary target. But like I said, as of current, I have $150 for the end of this kind of movement upwards. I definitely think we'll see resistance in this equilibrium at 148, probably coming back down towards the support point at 143 on the. If I go here, definitely think we'll see support at the 143 here. But yeah. I think from there we'll have our steady move upwards towards $200. We have this kind of gap here, which we haven't seen in a while on the weekly. We have this breaker block, which we'll probably see resistance at. So yeah, $205, We'll have $200. We'll have this. We'll probably wick into this, come right back down, maybe towards $180. We've got a lot of ranges. We've got a lot of things to go on. But I think for me, $200 is going to be big. Just checking here. Of course, I wanted your opinion. Yeah. I can't. Don't worry. It's fine. I think I gathered the majority of what I think you were saying. If what I've just said wasn't right, I've just given my general thoughts on Solana for the longer term, which is going to be about $200. I think $200 is going to be a massive area. Not only because obviously it's, you know, psychological, whatever. But for me, I have reason for it, which is definitely this equilibrium here between 210 and 195, which I've already talked about with back here. I definitely think that's going to be our next area. We have this gap here, which I think is on more of the wide range breaker block. So this is really good. This is a really good thing here. So 161, I don't think resistance, because again, that is also one of the highs on the 27. But what this also means is a positive breaker block, which means once we flip this towards 180, which is also equilibrium, by the way, which will be big support anyway, this is also going to be a massive support area. So I think once we start to flip where we are, we're kind of in the depths right now. Once we start to flip where we are, I think 180 or 178 to 160 is going to be massive support area, which we've already used previously. Regardless of this breaker block, we can see with the 27 equilibrium, we've used it multiple times, here, and then we had a bit of difficulty in February time when we were dumping, but especially these 3 points, 20th of December, 30th of January, 3rd of February, when we had this massive dump, all of them were at the equilibrium. So again, this is a general support area and resistance area for Solana, in general. So again, I think that's going to be massive when we hold it. But I think the general process of getting above this is definitely going to be us finding support at 160 and then flipping it. And again, this also ties into the 27, because again, this is 27 equilibrium. Again, we have our process. This is going to be difficult to do. But again, pretty much every coin you would cover has many steps to go, especially with Ethereum, as we'll move on to right now. There's just different things to look at. But I think it's more so I've lost my train of thought. I'm not gonna bother. I know what I was about to say then. It's just completely gone out my ear. But anyway, Ethereum, if you know, I think I need to sneeze on. I've got this tingle. I don't want to blow it down on mic. Okay. So Ethereum, if you've been on my streams, you'll know my thoughts and feelings and whatnot. Let's go on some lower ranges and then we can have a look. Again, this was one of the ones I was talking about. We have this equilibrium bounce. We have the purple line. Again, I have talked about this quite a bit. I think Ethereum has hit its mark, which we needed to. Again, we had this gap here, which was, I think, a inter gap. Was it? No. Was it just a fair value gap? I think it was just a fair value gap. But anyway, we hit it, and then obviously we come down. We filled this candle. Now we're coming back upwards again. But we hit this nice area. My thing was, okay, we have equilibriums, I believe, on the 243 area, as you can see. I think the 729 has a bit of a wider area. You can see, similar to Solana, similar with Bitcoin, I had the same drawn thing, which was holding this outer rim of the equilibrium. We did dip down, very similar to Solana, but we held the breaker block, which was, good. We held this breaker block. We're flipping it, as you can see right now, and we're starting to hold it a bit. The current issue we've got is this purple line. I did talk about that as being one of the areas we could see difficulty at. Again, this is very important for us to get above and then get up towards 2,200. But again, we do have equilibriums in these areas, and we do have this as support. So we're doing well. We're doing well with Ethereum. So again, this followed through quite nicely with this gap as well. So but anyway, yeah. So as we see it right now, let's just use this range as our example. We are at this support point. We have flipped this to support. So I mean, Solana's case, we are still at resistance. Bitcoin, we're hovering. We're kind of holding support. In Ethereum's case, we're doing pretty well though. We had equilibrium, we had this fair value gap, we had this big resistance area, which we then dumped to, and we found support at this low end for Ethereum, and now we're coming back upwards again. So a very nice higher low, now doing a higher high. So I think my next area will definitely be within this equilibrium, probably towards as low as 2043 for our support point, and then we can continue onwards. I think we're doing really well for Ethereum. I don't know if there's a gap on any of the time frames. I don't really believe it will be this massive area. Again, it is technically a candle nonetheless, so you could probably still draw this as something to pay attention to. I don't know why this looks so ugly. This is probably something to pay. I'm gonna delete this though. Actually, I'll keep it, why not? So this is probably something to pay attention to as we're kind of coming back into it here. This also coincides the midpoint as equilibrium, so I think 2050 area is going to be a good support point for Ethereum as we see. But again, Ethereum's in a bad scenario. However, we're seeing really big movement for Ethereum, and we need this because again, we were in across the board, in my opinion, with Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana. We were in the worst position, to be in to see good movements for Ethereum. We're in a really bad scenario. So to see us come up, above some resistance points quite easily is a good sign for me, and I'm very happy about it. So yeah, I think obviously next stop's going to be 2,200, not only on this range, but the range above, which one is it? The 218, yeah, here it is. The 729, I only had this, there we go. So yeah, 729, and this. But again, with this one, we're at the purple line. But again, I don't see too much difficulty because again, on this range, we are at a whole equilibrium level. So I don't think we'll see lower than here. I don't think we're going to dump back down towards, you know, wherever. I think we've got this massive candle here, which we could fill. We've got equilibrium at 2044, which will bounce off. I think we're doing really well. I don't think I'll see lower than this for Ethereum. I think kind of comparative to Bitcoin and Solana I've looked at, I do think we have more upwards movement for Ethereum comparatively. I do want to look at the 2187. We are coming above this purple line, which is nice. So again, this was a bad thing. This was my bad thing. This is the boogeyman, I said, because I remember looking at this back in, I don't know when, probably, you know, 14th of March, 17th of March area. I looked at this, I said, okay, we might not be in a bad scenario on the lower time frames, but on this one in particular, we've come below purple line and we've bounced off it. And what I remember saying on my stream was, I don't think this necessarily means we're going to see resistance at 2,200 and then dump towards 1,200, 1,300. But what I do think it means is I think we'll see a bit more difficulty at 2,200. Obviously, again, everything has its resistance points. You know, Bitcoin has its 88, 90,000, 91.3. Solana obviously has its 150, 160, 170. Everything has its resistance points, you know, which I have pointed out. But I think in Ethereum's case, this is going to be a strong resistance point. But what I do like to see though with this is that we've immediately flipped it and used its support. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're now in this range. You know, we're doing well to come back above 2,200. So again, I don't think we're in a particularly bad scenario. I just wanted to point that out as something to pay attention to of difficulty for Ethereum. Again, I think we're still doing well though. I still think we're doing well for Ethereum. And again, I don't want to focus on that too much. I think the 729 is more applicable. And in this case, we do have this resistance point, but we do have strong support where we are right now. And I think, you know, I think we'll come up a bit more. I definitely think we have a lot more to move. I think 2,700, 2,150, or 2,200, 2,150 is going to be one of my high points for Ethereum, and then we'll probably come back down towards 2,085 again. Just, I think we're still going to follow this process of obviously this higher, you know, whatever you want, however you want to draw it, these higher, high, high, low, normal trend line upwards. We're doing pretty well. So yeah, Ethereum, 2,200-ish area, this kind of general area here, I think is where my next resistance point is going to be. Because again, this isn't only on 243, this is on the 729 up here as well for this wide range at 2165 and the identical 2188. And then obviously apart from that, we have this resistance at 2187. So again, across the board, we have resistance at this 2187 level. So I do think this is going to be a big resistance point, which we do need to get above, but I don't think we'll get above it straight away for Ethereum. And yeah, the 6561, this is a big range. This is something I can't really look at right now. But yeah, on the higher range, you know, on the general movements for Ethereum, we're doing well. Again, weekly breaker block, finding support, slowly trying to get back above. I think we'll have good movements upwards. You know, again, we surpassed these two lows here. We came below, and now we're coming back upwards. So I think over the general time frame, higher daily, coming into weekly, whatever, I think we're doing well. And I think we're doing, I think we're in a good scenario, regardless of what I've just said about 2187 being below resistance, and we've got this massive resistance point on all ranges on the 2187. I still think we're doing good, because even on, oh no, wait, no, okay, I'm stupid. I'm not on the 6561 right now. Where is it? We don't have anything on 6561, but on 729, 243, 2187, all these ranges, the numbers don't have to mean anything to you. What I'm trying to convey is on these ranges, we have a consistent resistance point at 2187. That's what I'm trying to say. And we also have this breaker block here. I don't know what price it's on. Obviously on the weekly it is, but I don't know what this is. Okay, it's a positive break. I don't know why this is orange. So this is a good thing. This is a support point. Obviously, we flipped it. We'll probably see a bit of resistance, but it is a sort of support point. You can see it's a negative little block, which will be a positive breaker block. Which again, we can use as a resistance. Which I don't think I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we could use it as resistance. But as I see it, I think we're doing well. Looking on the weekly, especially, really nice bounce off equilibrium. We're coming upwards. I do think 2187 is going to be a visit very soon. I do think we'll see that very soon. I do think the surpass of it, which would be quite hard. So obviously similar with Bitcoin and Solana, we have our high points, $160 for Solana. Bitcoin's case, maybe 1913 area. Maybe 90,000. I don't know about 90,340. I don't think that's too high. I'm just trying to think of the prices I've got. I think 91.3 is probably the high point for that. Like sell area, if you will. I think the equivalent of this is going to be the 2187. I don't think we'll get past it on the first attempt, but again, comparative. Again, Solana, I've got 1.7, whatever. Bitcoin, again, I've got that kind of algorithm which goes all the way up towards was it 93, 96k area. So again, I'm not saying, very similar with the other two coins, I'm not saying this is going to be the last resistance point for Ethereum, and we're going to come right back down to 1400. But I think we'll see resistance here, and I think we might come back down towards $2,000 for the equilibrium. I don't think we'll come back down towards 1800. I don't really think we're going to see that. But yeah, I don't think it'll be too long before we're seeing 2,600 equilibrium here. I really don't think it'll be too long. So again, if you're feeling down in the market, keep your head up, keep your chin up, whatever. Just keep on going. Now, just think about it on the long term. Think about it on the weekly. We're doing well. I think this is a good low. Regardless of what you think, I think this is a good low. And I think we're going to come up and recover, come up towards, 2,500. I think we're going to come up to these areas over the weekly, give it, however many weeks, whatever it's going to take, maybe like 2 more candles, maybe towards April time. Just keep your head held high, keep your chest puffed out, whatever you want to say, and keep going. I think we're doing well. I think we're going to do well. I think we've seen the lows. Ethereum's case, we came below these 2 lows, bam, whip below them, even 3 lows even, we whip below them, bang, come below, support equilibrium, off we go. It's just, this is a weekly thing to look at. It's these lows. These are a weekly thing to look at. So this is going to take the weekly to play out. So obviously if you see a consistent amount of lows, and then you whip past them, whatever, it's like, liquidity sweep, we're going to go in the opposite direction because we've got liquidity now. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So we've surpassed the lows, now we can go up again. So, but again, this is a weekly thing to look at, so this will take the weekly to happen. Again, like I said, keep your head held high. I think this is the lows. I think these are the lows we'll see. Okay, I think we're gonna go up. So, good luck to you all. Chat to you all. I'll be back on. I don't know if we're doing something on Wednesday. I do need to do some videos though. I'll be doing a Mu Sol. I think I'm gonna do the Mu Sol comparison. I'll be uploading that soon. I have a thing to do with a trading system to put a video out on, so I'll be doing that as well. Wednesday, I don't know if we're doing a stream in particular, but regardless, Friday I'll be back as well for sure. Maybe with KB, maybe not. Obviously, trying to sort out potentially doing a Bitcoin show. I think it'd be quite cool to do with 2 people. So regardless of that, though, you will see me on Friday. At least you'll see me in Telegram, and I will try to do some videos as well for this as well. So again, if you want to talk charts, if you want to talk about anything, just say it in the Telegram. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me. I'll finish it off on the Bitcoin chart just to show it on the weekly, because I like to show the weekly chart on Bitcoin. I need to hide all this though, to be fair. This is all in the way. Yeah, so doing well. I've got this as well. I'm not going to talk about that right now because it's the end of the stream. Is it better to look at this though? No. Is there any other things to look at better? This is not bad though. Again, this is very similar with Solana's. It doesn't matter. I don't know what I'm doing to you. I need to end the stream. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you all. I'll see you guys when I do. See you guys on Telegram as well. Goodbye to you all. Shout out to you all. I don't think I've got anything else to say. That's it. Shout out to you, KB. Thank you. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to you all for being here, Kishan. I think that was Danny here. If I scroll up a bit, Mags was here. Obviously, if you're not, I want to scroll through to make sure you guys are here, because I don't want to be shouting out. Don't want to shout out thin air. Hidden agendas as well. Appreciate all of you for being here, consistent or not. I need to end the stream and yapping. Goodbye.